Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's me, MCKOOKIE. So in this video, I'm basically going to share how I personally prepared and fought Nergigante to beat him. I was stuck on this monster for quite a while. I want to say at least 10 hours I was stuck, and then I spent about 5 hours preparing. So I figured maybe I'd put out a video and give you guys some tips and pointers that maybe aren't in other guides. I know that there's a lot of guides on fighting Nergigante, so I appreciate you guys clicking on this video in the first place. But maybe you'll learn something, pick up something, so you won't struggle as bad as I did. Right off the bat, you want to make sure that your armor rarity is rank 6, like rarity 6, dark blue. What I did was I went with the full Odogaron armor set. Like, this guy does massive damage, and you don't want to show up to the fight looking like this, okay? You don't want to look like this, all right? You want to look something like this, right? This is a little better. Went with the Odogaron set because it boasts the highest defense of all the available armor sets to you. The Diablo set is also pretty good. The Black Diablo set. If you don't mind farming him, you can also do that if you're struggling a lot too. He's also weak. Nergigante is weak to thunder weapons. So what I did, since I'm a charge blade user, is I went with the Kadachi charge blade. If you want to get it to the next level, you have to get 2 majestic horns, and you get that by breaking Black Diablo's horns. So that seems kind of hard for me to do. So I kind of just went with the Kadachi Kaina charge blade that I have now, since the guy is weak to electric. Another thing to prepare, I'd say, is you want to be stocked out on max potions, regular potions. You're going to want Mega Armor Skin potions, as many as you can. Mega Demon Drug is great for getting extra DPS in as well, but if you only have enough money for one or the other, definitely focus on defense. Like, defense is what you want. This guy doesn't do any elemental damage. It's all just raw, physical, I'm going to hit you like a 747 kind of damage. So just focus on defense. Another thing I highly recommend is the Divine Blessing perk. What it does is every time it activates, which happens to be quite a lot, if you have it to level 3, you will receive half the damage that you were supposed to take. That's right, it'll reduce 50% damage. It's relatively easy to farm the materials for the charm. All you have to do is kill the Palo Lamulo cat pufferfish from the Coral Islands. I recommend maxing out the charm so that you don't have to use his armor like I did. I actually have a Palo Lamulo armor coil, which is not ideal because it's lower defense, but what I did was I dropped a bunch of armor spheres into it so that I would have higher defense. I don't recommend doing that, so that you can save those armor spheres for a better piece of armor, but I had to do the best with what I had available to me. Also, for equipment, I would recommend for the entire fight, except for the last phase where he's in his lair, use the health booster. It's really cool. You basically, it's a health spike that you drop into the ground, and it heals you as you're fighting him. The way I like to fight him is I try to be underneath him towards his back legs as much as possible, because that's where I feel like you're safest from his attacks. And he also tends to go more aggro on your Palico when you're underneath him. And if he does his dive bomb attack, which is the attack you need to watch out for the most, it's the easiest to dodge because all you have to do is roll towards him. So, like, if you get caught with damage, it'll do very little damage to you. Or you can just dodge it entirely. And for me, it's the best way to successfully get sword strikes in. And since I'm using a charge blade, it's the only real way I can finish off my Axe Elemental Discharge, this combo right here on screen, without being severely punished. So, Divine Blessing, make sure you have a really good armor set. You don't have to go with Odogaron. There's other armor sets that are high rank that might have better skills to your playstyle. Again, I'm using the Charge Blade. You should use perks that, cater to the weapon that you're using or your playstyle. Any evader perks are great because you're going to be rolling like crazy against this guy. You're going to be rolling nonstop, and the theme of this is high defense and don't be greedy. Another thing I did to prepare, obviously make sure you have a thunder weapon like I mentioned. The higher rated it is, the better. Charge Blade versus Longsword, if you're like me, I know those are 2 very popular weapons. Those are 2 of my favorite weapons in the game. You might be better off with the Longsword, to be honest, because it's kind of easier to get off your Spirit Gauge combo, I think, but that's up to you. But make sure you have a thunder weapon. He has a 3-star weakness to thunder, and he's especially weak on his forefront, the horns on his front legs. When they're white, they take extra damage, so that's another thing too. Another thing, barrel bombs are your friend. What you want to do is every time before you fight him from the very first area or whatever, you basically want to activate your Mega Demon drugs, your Mega Armor skin, everything. You want to put on your Vitality Mantle if that's what you're doing. You want to drop your health booster. Be prepared before you start every engagement. When he goes to flee to a new area, go to your camp, pick up more barrel bombs. You want to basically drop at least 2 barrel bombs in each location that you're fighting him in, so you can max out DPS. I happen to have like 12 large barrel bombs and 2 mega barrel bombs in my inventory. So what I did was every new area that I fought him, because every time you weaken him, he'll go to like a different area or whatever, make sure you're dropping barrel bombs there. Like, it doesn't hurt, you get extra DPS on him. So make sure you're always going to camp. Also, as soon as you can eat, you should be eating food as soon as it's off cooldown. I would go for stuff that gives you more defense. In addition, if you do faint, which is likely, you're going to respawn back. And when you go to eat food, a lot of times the food will not offer you, like I usually get the chef's platter, which gives me a maxed out health bar. That food will not be an option anymore since you fainted. A nice little workaround to this is to equip at least 2 max potions, because what you can do is, like when I died and I fainted, I just ate one of them, and I'm back at a max health bar. So you can go back and fight him with the max health bar. That gets you around the, having a tiny health bar. Because this guy's impossible to fight with a tiny health bar. Now, when you're at his lair, you want to do what I'm doing right here and put mega barrel bombs down, and also get your health booster ready, or if you're using Vitality Mantle, get that ready. Just be prepared at all times. As far as this phase of the fight goes, this is actually the hardest part of the fight, because his attacks are going to be a lot faster. They're going to be a lot more aggressive, and it feels like all of his attacks have a slightly wider hitbox, and his dive bomb attacks have more splash damage because there's spikes shooting out of them. So be very careful in this phase of the fight. I would actually drop the health booster at this portion of the fight, the little green mist that's on screen, and I would instead put on a Vitality Mantle, because in this portion of the fight you're going to want to do like hit and run attacks. You're not going to be underneath him all the time like the other parts of the fight, just doing free damage. You're going to want to basically be running around dodging his crazy dive bomb attacks that he's going to start spamming in this area, and instead go for like chip damage whenever you can. And for that, I would recommend the Vitality Mantle, because right here, his attacks are insane, and they come at you even faster than before, because he's actually pissed off at this phase of the fight. So, swap the health booster when you see him go to his lair and he's low. Swap the health booster for the Vitality Mantle. And a lot of times, he'll be lower than you think. Like, when I was fighting him, he didn't have a skull, but I still killed him. He didn't have the skull icon. So always keep fighting like he's almost about to die, but you need to also be ready that while you might be able to get a couple swings in here, don't be greedy, because he can do a complete 180 on you. He'll stun you with his roar, and then he'll dive bomb you. So do not be greedy. You need to get out while you can. Be very careful. If you're doing the charge blade, be careful when you do your axe elemental discharge. Another thing too is I notice if he starts going aggro on your Palico, throughout the fight, he'll sometimes spam his dive bomb attack on your Palico. That's an excellent time to do your heavy weapon combos. So what you want to do is basically keep spamming him underneath his underbelly. If you're using the charge blade in particular, keep spamming him with keep charging your files with his underbelly, and then as soon as he is dive bombing your Palico, or he tries to dive bomb you and he misses, then you can start unloading your axe elemental discharge. Just be prepared that you might not be able to finish the combo, and be ready to roll out of the way if he turns around, because he'll quickly do a follow-up attack that's pretty devastating. A lot of his attacks like to stun and not paralyze you, but they'll stun you. His roar, he's the first monster in the game, I want to say, that will actually roar to stun you and then attack. Most of them just roar for the hell of roaring, or they roar when they're retreating. This guy will roar, and compared to other monsters in the game, he actually follows it up with an attack faster than any other monster I've encountered in the game so far. So you need to be ready for that. You always want to be in a good position to not, like, if you don't have the earplugs perk, which is actually a really good perk if you guys can invest in that one. If you don't have that perk, you need to always be thinking, okay, if I get caught out or stunned right here, am I in a good position? You always want to kind of be up. If you're doing physical weapons, you obviously, like, I feel more scared and more in danger if I'm medium range, because he'll do stuff like what you just saw, where he'll do the dive bomb attack, but it's at a better angle, I feel like, for him, because he's like a jet coming in on a landing strip, and it's a lot harder to dodge, unless on the other hand, compared to if you're like right underneath him, then all you have to do is roll towards his direction. In the Lair, his dive bomb attack is delayed, and he's going to use that to throw off your timing, because what he does is he kind of does like a delayed dive bomb attack, so be ready to roll an extra time. Also, if you know how to do it, I'm hearing that if you do the running and sprint jump, where he does that thing where like he jumps in the air and then he falls down on his space, those are actually invincibility frames. So while you're in that kind of animation, you won't take damage. So if you know how to cheese that, you can also use that to dodge dive bomb attack damage. I didn't really find that out until after I beat this, but that's also an option. But honestly, guys, this fight is mostly about patience and preparation, making sure you always have your buffs active. And what I did, since this fight was so hard for me, I actually got all the materials I needed, and since they're pretty expensive because I melded a lot of items to get what I needed, I saved my game beforehand, and then if I lost to him, I would just close the game and restart it and come back, and I wouldn't waste time collecting fossils or anything like that, just because I knew that, you know, I'm probably going to die here because it's so hard, and I don't want to waste time. I would just restart the game and do that. But anyway, guys, that's the video. Thank you so much for watching. I know there's other guides out there that are involving this topic. So if you did learn something different or new and you enjoyed it, give it a like and subscribe for more. I will catch you guys next time. MCKOOKIE out.